One of the things that was always daunting for me when I first started Unity is transitioning scenes. I would always work in a scene for the longest time possible, and you start to realize at some point you need to face the reality that you're gonna have a main menu, maybe an upgrade screen, different levels, and you'll have to transition to them somehow. So that's what I'm going to go through today. Over here, I'm just going to show you real quick. We've got our main menu. We're going to go through hit the new game, and we're going to go straight into the game. We're going to go through this loading screen, as you can see, and then bam, we're now in our game. Straight to the pause menu and quit. Straight back. So how do you actually load a scene in Unity, but also maybe do it smartly so that you don't feel like you're beating your head against the wall like I did? So we're in the main menu. We have this menu controller. You can see the main thing that's doing all the logic for the buttons, including that new game that we just used, is this main menu UI. Let's jump into it. The main menu UI, what does it do? Takes in the buttons, adds listeners to them. We've got our new game listener, which is the one we're most interested in over here. What does it do? It just runs a single line, one line to transition between scenes. Okay, maybe it's not that simple, but it kind of is. This is a scene loader. The scene loader is not native. We had to make it. It's very simple. The scene loader, we're going to run its method that takes in a string. The string are the names of your scene. So let's just jump back and we see what names of scenes do we have. We've got end level, loading, main menu, Mish scene, Nick scene. For now, the game is called Nick scene, and the main menu is called main menu. Very logical. So let's jump into the scene loader. Scene loader, ooh, nothing going on. The scene loader has a static string. This is actually where part of the magic happens. So we pass in the string of the scene that we want to load. The scene, the target scene name gets assigned with that string. So we're not just storing that string because it is important. Then what we're actually doing is we're doing nothing but just loading the loading screen scene. And we'll do that every time. But the difference is that our scene string that we send it will be different depending on what scene you want to jump into. So, what does the loading screen controller do? Because that is actually where the magic happens. So let's actually have a look at the loading screen. Let's see how we've set it up. We have a loading screen. You could not have any of these: main camera, directional, canvas, event system. You probably don't even need an event system. You just need the loading scene controller, which is what we're going to talk about. It takes in, at least for the purpose of handling loading, a slider so that we can move up and down this progress bar. I say move up and down, it really only goes up. The text so that we can update this, so say loading or whatever else you want. And optionally allow any key to continue, so we can have the player sit in the loading screen. It would be loaded, but it does not transition the scene yet until they press a key on the keyboard. And that is what this does when that is set to true. So Let's jump back in. Now we know that we have a scene loader, and that is what we're calling from any button. And we're passing it a scene name. And then the scene loader will run the actual Unity scene manager, load scene, and we're just going to load the loading screen. So let's go to the loading screen controller, which we saw just now. As we said, slider, text, allow button. On start, we're just going to disable the mouse so that people aren't wiggling their mouse around and we're not having to worry about mouse inputs while it is loading. And we're just going to run this coroutine, the load scene asynchronously. So what this does is we're going to wait for the next frame once we're in here, and then we have an async operation. The scene manager has got a load scene asynchronously. So we're going to run that, and we're going to pass it in that scene name that we had stored in our scene loader. So we pass it in, running the scene loader.target scene name. It can access this because target scene name is a static reference. You can see public static string. And now we go into the actual operation. So we're saying, all right, load it synchronously, and we're going to get the operation reference of this operation. If that makes sense. If it's not null, we just null check there. We are going to disable allow scene activation. That means once it is loaded, it is not going to transition to that new scene right away, because we want to do a couple things. So this operation gives you access to allow scene activation. Is it done? So it is only done, or rather, if it is not done, it is in progress. And while it is in progress, or rather, while it is not done, we can get the progress amount, operation.progress. And we're just getting it as a factor of, say, we're saying that, okay, up to 90% is what we're considered done. Because once we hit there, we're close enough, we're going to jump right in. So we're just clamping the progress, or rather a new float, so that we can move our progress bar, our loading bar, and we can show to the player that things are happening and they are loading into the next scene. Then we're also going to upgrade. I don't know what I'm talking about, upgrade. We're going to update the text with loading once the scene is ready to activate. So we have deemed that as long as we're above 90%, we are actually considered close to being complete, which is, this is where we then run our check that, okay, if we have the allow any key to continue, we're actually going to just switch off the loading bar. This is optional. You don't have to do this. You can have the loading bar just sit at 100%. I choose to switch it off and change the text to press any key button to continue. We will then wait for an input. So we actually are going to be reading. This is a very inelegant, non-elegant. This is a terrible way of handling this. It is very brute force. We're checking every button on a gamepad. There are better ways to do this. I just did this in the interest of time. I haven't any key, so any key on your keyboard or any key on your gamepad. I've not included mouse in case people are just mouse clicking around. I didn't want them to jump into the scene by mistake, so I didn't include mouse actions in this. So just keyboard and gamepad. So we're just reading that, and if anything hits true, we are then going to flip that operation.allow scene activation that we had originally made false. We're going to turn it true, and that will transition the player into the new scene. Now that is if allow key is enabled. If we're not using this feature, we're just going to go straight through the loading. It's going to hit progress, is going to hit 100%. Is done will become true, and we will go straight into it by saying allow scene activation equals true. Don't worry about it, because we are above 90%. So it'll transition into that new scene. Done. That's it. It's nice and simple. Just a little bonus. Remember we went from the pause menu? If you want to take a moment to think about how we actually transition from the pause menu back to the main menu, that was a dramatic pause. If you have an idea what you think it is, maybe write it down and then let's see if you're correct. Let's quickly go back to the main menu. Just do a quick recap. On new game, this is when we click the new game button, because this is what has been assigned as the method for our listener. We're going through the scene loader. What do you think we're going to be doing through the pause menu? Guess what? On quitting the quit button, we're going to go through the scene loader again, and we're just going to pass the main menu instead. Nice and simple. Your loading screen, you don't have to touch this ever again. Your scene loader, never again. You just transition to any scene you want from anywhere by calling scene loader, load scene with loading screen, main menu. One of the important things perhaps that I should probably mention is in Unity, in order to transition scenes properly as well, go to build profile, because if you don't do it here, it will sting you. In your scene list, you will see there's a list of scenes that are actually accessible, especially most importantly in your built version of your game. If you do not have your scene here, it will break. It will not let you transition. So this is a very important step. Make sure you set this up. I probably should have mentioned this in the very beginning, but if you've made it this far, that means your scene loader will work, unlike the other people that didn't make it this far. So here we go. You can, in any active scene, just hit add open scenes. Done. It'll add it as a new list. You will then know what scenes are allowed to be transitioned to. This is your scene hierarchy. You know what? We're not even going to talk about anything hierarchy. That was the wrong word. That was your scene scene values. Let's call it scene values. I'm rambling. Thanks for watching.